Amazing audience, we are live with Chris Spangle. Did I pronounce your last name?
You did,
right?
yep.
Yeah?
Like the Star Spangled Banner without the D.
Yeah, you heard me when I said that?
Yeah.
Spangle Banner. Yeah, I had to say it, yeah. It's like the one thing you know Spangle for, right?
Right.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah. Tell us, which of your talents is responsible for this dynamic opportunity to occur today?
Well, I met Harrison, our friend off camera here, because I'm a podcaster. I've been a podcaster for about 10 years.
Family then?
Yes.
Like we were supposed to hug when we met.
Yeah, right.
That's your family.
And I've done it for about a decade now, and I work for a local radio show by day, and then I do podcasting by night.
What's the name of the podcast?
We Are Libertarians. So it's a political podcast.
That's why you said that you're causing all sorts of trouble.
That's right. The good thing is I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, so I get to cause trouble on all sides. Right?
Yeah. And you have a mic.
I do. Many. You know how podcasting is. You start buying one piece of equipment, and then you're like, oh, I spent 2 years worth of salary.
Yeah. It does sound fun. So the radio program, what's the name of it?
The Bob and Tom Show.
All right. How did you come up with the Bob and Tom part?
So they've been around for about 35 years here in town, and I grew up listening, and I had always wanted to work there. And then about 6 years ago, I met a guy named PJ, who was their art director. And we started talking about their digital presence and their web presence, and then he said, you should tell Tom all this. It's like, I'm not going to tell my childhood hero like all the ways that his stuff isn't working right. But I did, and it ended up leading to a great opportunity. That was a dream fulfilled, yeah.
So the Bob and Tom is the brand of the entire
It's the actual show, yep.
Bob and Tom were there at some point in
right.
time. And
Yep.
you have now taken on the other legacy.
Yeah, I'm not on the air. I'm a behind the scenes guy. So it's a big radio show with a bunch of people involved, and then there's the on-air staff, and then I do all the digital stuff, all the website stuff, along with a few other people, and then I'm on air on my podcast, but not on Bob and Tom.
Okay, well, that's fun, right?
Oh, it's a blast. Yeah,
I can imagine. You get content from that to do this as
yes,
well. And
exactly
vice
right.
versa, I guess.
Right.
Well, that's good. So who did you learn that skill from? That skill of being the head?
So I built my first website in 2007, just because I was working at a radio station then.
This is HTML days.
Yes, HTML. I mean, I had to it wasn't a one press, like you built the WordPress, the database, all that stuff. And and then I just started, every time I had a job opportunity, I found myself having to market that without any money. And that was a really great way to build a bunch of skills, so that led into it. And I guess because I'm 34, you're always in a position where you are always behind the scenes. You work your way up over time. And I just like to help people, and at my day job, I don't want to be on air. I want to be behind the scenes. I want to facilitate the growth of the show and support people that I consider more talented than myself. Yeah,
which is cool, right? Sometimes, it's taught to us that we need to be in the front line. But
right.
The truth is, it's cool to be in the behind scenes sometimes.
Yeah, there isn't the pressure when I show up every day. They have to get up at 4 in the morning and go and be really funny, and so there's a lot of pressure on them. And I think when you're a behind the scenes person, you do what you can to kind of help make their life easier. And I think service is really important, and it's an important part of my life, and I just consider my job an extension of that. And you kind of in life have to know your place. You don't. I think you're right. Everybody wants to strive to be the top, or I want to have my own thing and be out front. But sometimes you need people behind the scenes to help you get to that point.
Yeah. I think 80% of the work is the behind the scenes.
Yes.
The 20% is, showing.
It's all preparation.
Yeah,
if you didn't do the preparation that you did today, you wouldn't have 30 people showing up,
And that preparation, just to be clear, didn't even look like me putting this together. That was actually done by the behind the scenes person, right?
Sure.
But definitely the work was done, and the work is necessary, right? For JC to be able to say, all right, put this together, right? To trust.
Yeah.
Trust is a big thing as well.
Because you need to focus on this part. Yeah. They need to focus on that part and not worry about all the other intangibles that go into stuff.
Yeah. Which is great. What is one other thing you've done? Oh, well, we told people about the podcast, the name of the podcast, and we told them the name of the show. Where's the best place you'd want to point them to?
WeAreLibertarians.com.
Okay,
yep.
Wonderful. WeareLibertarians.com. What's one other thing you've done consistently over the last 3 years?
Gosh. Yeah, in terms of what? In terms of just
anything. It could be fun. It could be fun. A fun stuff thing.
Does Mario Kart count?
There we go. 3 years.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64.
On the Wii. But see, my job and my hobby are kind of intertwined, and so I don't know. I wake up every day really looking forward to what I'm doing that day, and nothing ever feels like work. And so I don't know. When you ask me like, what do you do on a consistent basis? It's like my friend circle is my podcast circle. My work, my friends are, so it's hard to kind of say like I just you wake up focused on these tasks every single day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess
something to think about, right?
Yeah. So hard to pin that down.
Which is cool. How does that make you feel though? Like the fact that not being able to answer that question at this specific time. How did that make you feel?
Well, I'm not good at being on the spot a lot of times, ironically. So you if I had more time, I'm sure that I could like sit there and go, I do these 15 things, but
these 15 things.
but you know how it is when you're really dedicated to something, when you're really giving your all to something, you're not consistent with a lot of other things. I would say that one thing that I've been consistent about is exercising. I think self-care is really important. Therapy, exercise. Like I'm gonna go swimming later. Just getting some sunshine. Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important. I never did that. I've lost 60 pounds over the last 3 years. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that stuff, then eventually things start to kind of, it's like a Jenga tower. If you're not taking care of yourself and eating right and exercising, it's like you pull one little piece, and then all of a sudden it's like, why am I laying on the floor crying? But so that's something that I do consistently. I mean,
that's good.
But yeah.
Let's switch gears for a moment.
All right.
Let me invite you into my time machine
All
that
right.
is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Chris, what is your earliest childhood memory? Is Chris short for Christopher?
Chris, yep, okay. Christopher.
Right. What is your earliest childhood memory?
The Challenger blowing up. So, I was born in '83, and I remember being, it was '86, I remember being in my grandfather and grandmother's apartment watching the TV and yelling, fireworks! But it was the space shuttle blowing up, so it's kind of macabre. But, and I would have been almost 3, if not just shy of 3, I think.
Wow.
So
why do you think that memory is so clear?
I think anytime you have something that is a significant tragedy, because the first thing my grandmother did was react very strongly to it, freaked out, oh my gosh, and I think that just like when you're a little kid, that's really impactful. You that imprints on your mind, like you're like, oh, fireworks, and then you're like, oh, this is something much more tragic. So I think that's why.
How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
I don't know if there is a connection, but I would say that I'm very connected to, another tragedy that really was impactful for me was 9/11. I was born on September 9th, so I turned 18 on September 9th, 2001, signed up for the draft on September 10th, 2001, and I freaked out on 9/11. And I think being 18... freshly 18 on 9/11 was the first time, I think, as an American, I had ever experienced that security blanket that Americans take for granted. When you're an American, you just wake up and your life is safe and normal, and forgive me, where are you from?
Trinidad and Tobago.
So I have no concept of what it's like to grow up in Trinidad, for instance. But in America, growing up, it's always like the police are going to save you, the fire department will save you. You can save yourselves. You can pull up your bootstraps. So 9/11 was the foundation shaking moment for so many Americans, but especially millennials. The younger millennials don't really they were in first grade. They don't really have kind of that memory. But for me, it was just you better get involved because there's forces outside of this country that can radically shape your personal life, end your life. And so I got very involved in politics, and I ended up becoming a Christian because of it. I mean, it was just really earth-shattering.
Yeah. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
Your signs always come from the sky.
Mm-hmm. Probably, yeah.
Just like, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that there's always a conversation with an individual to show you a different side.
Right.
So, for example, there's your grandmother, right? You see fireworks. She explains to you the fact of what it is.
Right.
And then there's 9/11, where, as you said, millennials would probably not be marked by it, but you saw this. But
Right.
it's amazing to see the two different extremes. And when you bring it back to politics, it's very similar, right?
Right.
One person sees, oh, it's blown up, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm guessing another person sees fireworks, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, for Osama bin Laden, his perception of 9/11 was that, you know, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, one man's rebel is another man's, you know, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. I mean, and I really think we sometimes think that everything that is in my head is right, but we don't realize that the product of our minds is shaped by every conversation we've ever had. And those conversations are shaped by all of human history, all of politics, philosophy, history, religion, these conversations that have gone on in the human experience forever. And so I love what you're doing because conversation is just the foundation of the human experience. So because you are shaped by conversing with other people. Constantly, you know.
And what I love in that memory is that you are the person who is recording and then sharing as you're doing still, right?
Right.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my podcast is me interviewing people. You know, for instance, I have a series called The Cost where I talk about the human toll of government policy. And it's me sitting one-on-one with a person talking about their experience interacting with the government. And you get a totally different perception of how government operates because we sometimes think, oh, the police are there to save us, but sometimes the police are the abusers. You know, not all, but some. I mean, I have a situation with a friend who she was in a domestic violence situation. The police, 100 police officers that she talked to before one finally helped her. You know, and I think those stories break down our perception of what we want, the mythology of America, the mythology of politics, into the reality of people's experiences.
Yeah, I think this guy is going to be a politician. Let's say a senator. Yeah. All right, my friend, we've arrived. Before we even do that, if we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
In 2012?
Oh, sorry, when you were 12 years old.
Man, The Thunder Rolls by Garth Brooks.
All right, there we go. All right. Thunder rolls, the sky.
Yeah. You make a lot of connections. I like it.
It's good to connect, right? It's good to connect. All right, so we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more, right?
All right.
Chris, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
I am not.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? More than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
No. We're on the line, but it's less than 8 hours. We're close. We're like 7.5.
If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Chris Spangle, well named though, right, for everything. What would you say that is?
That the most important thing a person can do is try to continually improve themselves. And focus on improving them instead of improving others or the world. I think sometimes people would rather focus on improving society or their friends and family because they don't want to focus on what's going on inside. And I've chosen to really turn that inward, and that has really benefited me a tremendous amount.
Love it. Chris, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Feel free to find me at chrisspangle.com or We Are Libertarians. There's the Chris Spangle Show, so I appreciate you having me on. I actually, I was in a high school play,
right,
And in the high school play, it said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to travel the country and talk to normal people and record that and make something out of that." So you're literally doing what I'm.
When you decide to do it, because you could still do it, right? Just let me know. I have a few tips.
All right, I will call you.
My pleasure. Chris, thank you for being on What Is Inspired by 12 Minute Convos with
Hey,
Jojo.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Appreciate you.